what happened was I bought a house, and the real estate agent was a complete, I don't want to say a bad word, but he just wasn't a great human. And I had no idea what I was doing. And after the transaction, I looked at the closing statements and the things. And I was like, I can do his job. Like, he didn't do anything special. He showed me a couple houses, and then at the end said, "Which one do you want, Daniel?" And I was like, "I'll pick the one with green carpets and the like literally like the one with the green carpets and the popcorn ceiling. Like, I'll take that one. I can fix things up, and I hopefully make some money." So, he showed me these properties. I bought them. I realized how much he made, and I was like, it takes me half a year to make what he made in a weekend. I think I can do that job. So I started a brokerage. Never worked for anybody. Got a mortgage license. Got a contractor's license. I've developed a lot of property in Sacramento. Flipped a ton of property. Bought and sold. Helped others buy and sell. And I just learned how to do business in the real estate world. And then I needed leverage in 2007 because the Great Recession was happening. And I hired my first virtual assistant in the Philippines, and it was a fantastic move. She was a rock star. In fact, she's coming to California this Sunday to participate in our company's kind of Christmas dinner. So, the first person I ever hired in 2007. So, a long time ago now. I was like trying to do the math. Is that 15 years ago? 16? I don't know.
16.
Yeah. So we hired virtual assistants. This was before the 4-hour work week. It was before everything, nowadays they're very common. But back then I would go and travel and speak on stage, and people would be like, "Hey, Daniel, great presentation, but can you tell me what a virtual assistant is?" Like, they just didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I missed that. Right.
Yeah.
So, we basically built the market for virtual assistants. Like, it didn't exist prior to us. You couldn't hire them. Upwork wasn't a thing. Odesk wasn't a thing. Like, it was just nobody had them. So we built the market in the real estate world, spread out. We do healthcare, banking, tech, just all kinds of different contractors. We help people get leverage and fast. That's one of our coolest things is, if you were thinking about making a plan for 2024 and you realize you need support, like we get you 100 people in 2 months, which is unusual in our space. So we do that. And then I've just kind of slowly built, we have a technology company, a real estate company, a mortgage. We did mortgage for a long time. Then California changed the rules around it. So I was like, I'm out. I don't want to do anymore. Actually, Wells Fargo made us change a toilet seat on a house. It was like 2011 or 12 or 13. The rules were changing, and there was a crack on the toilet seat in one of the mortgages that I was refinancing. It was an investor loan that was like a $300,000 loan, and there was tons of equity in it. And I think it was worth like $600,000, and we were doing a $300,000 loan. And Wells Fargo underwriter said that you have to change the toilet seat. And I was like, I don't change toilet seats. I own a business. What are you talking about? And so that was my last mortgage I ever did. I was like, I'm out of this game. These people are being ridiculous. So, today we have a leadership team, run a family. I try to stay healthy and active, and just try to contribute and give back to the world.
That's awesome. Yeah. 2,500 employees, obviously a lot of that is your virtual assistants. You kind of manage all of those. So are all of those employees then underneath but they're your employees, and then you kind of, 1099 them out to somebody else, or how does your relationship work with your VAs or for the company?
Yeah, so we're a company here in the U.S. So we employ people in the U.S. and then we're a company over in the Philippines, and we take care of people over in the Philippines. But we give them healthcare, vacation time, benefits. The idea is we're a staffing company. It's a very simple model to follow. We look for long-term relationships that, I was just talking to somebody who's in Philly actually last night. He's a friend. He was like, "Hey, I think we need a couple people for our property management. And he's been with us like 5-6 years, and he's got 2 in his real estate development that just keep doing the job. And so he's like, I think we need more. I'm like, great, let's talk. So we just look for those business owners who have a long-term mindset and really care about, taking care of their people. And those we do really well with those kind of clients.
Oh, I lost you for a second.
Oh, really? I can see you. Nope. I can hear you.
Okay. I got you now. That's no problem. All right. So, one of the things I really like is trying to figure out how I can include my kids into the business, show them more of the business side. Is that something that you have done, or are you planning to do? Is kind of show your kids the business side?
The other day I was closing on a real estate flip, and my daughters come into the room, and I'm like, hey guys, I want you to meet, I think his name was like Steve or something. He was the notary. And I'm like, okay. So my middle kid, I was like, okay, go get, Steve would like something to drink. Please go get that. And then Georgia, my oldest, I was like, hey, we're closing on a real estate flip that we partnered with another friend, and they did all the work. We financed the money, and we're splitting the profits. And so I pull them in as much as possible, but these are little kids. So when we buy a building, when I talk to a customer, like I don't mute it. I want them to hear those interactions. And this old lady that I was friends with, she was an educator, actually, a pre-K teacher. She's like, far more is caught than taught. And so when I do a call in the car, and I got this from a good friend of mine, Max, who owns a bunch of plumbing companies, great guy. I'm like, hey, do you hide the business from them? He's like, oh no, I talk to clients on the phone, in the car with the kids, so they can hear how to do customer service, hear how to talk to a customer. You can have a disagreement with your kids in the car. You can ask them to be quiet for a minute and teach them a little self-control and discipline. And so I just try as much as possible to include them. When we go to the Philippines, we take them. We have annual Christmas parties that we include them in that. We talk to them about what their job is when we host an event. Like their job is to go up to people, shake their hands, and introduce yourself and say hello and thanks for coming and all that.
That's awesome.
But it's I don't have them in the business yet because my kids are all on the younger side of the equation. But they, if they want to earn money, they can come and empty trash and clean the bathrooms. I give them the worst jobs, like at the office when they come in. I pay them like adults. So I got this from a podcast. Andy Stanley did this. I don't know if it was Andy Stanley, but Andy Stanley has a great podcast about being a dad and what the values are around that. And then I heard this from another podcast, which was pay them like they're adults and hold them to the same standards. So if they're going to clean the bathrooms, make sure they clean the bathrooms, but don't pay them like a kid, $5 an hour or $3 an hour. Pay them like you would pay the person that cleans the bathrooms. And so we do that. They come to the office and they get paid minimum wage. And if they actually do sales, then they'll get paid what a salesperson gets. So we pay them for the job that they do and then hold them to the same standard we would anyone else.
I really like that a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people I talk to, they're looking at like, hey, they look at it from a couple different perspectives. One is they can pay their kid, and then it becomes they don't have to pay taxes on that income because now it's an employee expense. And have them as a 1099 employee for them, so they pay their child that way, and then use the money for elsewhere. But I think that if it's just done that way, kind of loses the impact I think it could have in the way that you're talking about, right? Because you can have that impact of like, no, you're really working in this thing and you're doing something, as opposed to, hey, you're like, my boys can be easily paid for being a model or, like a child, like stand in for what I'm doing, right? They're on almost all of my podcasts. They jump in, bounce around. They're included in a lot of stuff. I've got them on a bunch of different things inside of my other companies. So it's easily, I could justify just paying them, what the government says, but they don't really get that taste of what it means to actually put in work. And I really like what you're going with there with the company, and and they get to see the other side of it. Like, hey, these are all of these jobs need to be done inside of your business. So like, there's somebody that takes all of these jobs, and I really like that concept.